When you think of maple syrup, you think of pancakes, waffles, and you think of it like this. However, for some people, maple syrup can mean MSUD, or the maple syrup urine disease. This disease prohibits certain types of amino acids from breaking down, and in turn, urine and other bodily fluids smell like maple syrup. And this has some serious side effects. Today, we have a special guest who will explain how this disease has personally affected his life.
Today's program is to help educate people on MSUD, as it affects 1 in 185,000 people worldwide.
Thank you for joining us today. I have a few questions on the disease and how it's affected you.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
If you don't mind telling us who in your family has the disease,
My brother was diagnosed with MSUD when he was 2 months old.
and how exactly has this affected your family?
Well, at first we were distraught, but we had to be strong and get through it as a family. We've had to make many accommodations to adapt to the everyday challenges.
If you wouldn't mind me asking, what type of accommodations have you made?
Well, for starters, we've had to spend large sums of money for specific protein formulas, as he's unable to process specific proteins.
Does Ben have any dietary restrictions?
Yes, if he does not eat within a few hours, he becomes extremely fatigued. And if he eats something his body can't break down, he has to be rushed to the hospital where he is tested and receives IVs and shots.
Is your brother's immune system weaker than others?
When he was 5 years old, he had a common cold, and 3 months later, he still had a runny nose.
And lastly, does your brother participate in any athletics?
Yes, Ben loves basketball and watching the Kings play. Sadly, he can't play himself as his energy levels decline at a faster rate when he's exercising.
Well, today's your lucky day because I have something. This is for your brother, and we have season passes for him to see all the Kings games.
I appreciate that.
And thank you for joining us today. I wish your family the best of luck.
Thank you.
And these on a medical level, we have Andreas, the leading doctor at St. Jude's on MSUD.
For starters, I would like to point out that MSUD is an inherited disease, not something that you can catch like common flu or the virus.
And how is the disease inherited?
This disease is inherited when 1 in 3 genes are defected. To get a better understanding of this, I have a diagram laid out. Protein synthesis is basically individual cells building specific proteins. The process of protein synthesis starts with DNA. Then it goes to transcription, then to RNA, then to translation, which all in all makes protein. DNA bonds to adenine to thymine and guanine to cytosine, or A to T and G to C. DNA has a shape of a double helix, or a twisted ladder. The sugar for DNA is deoxyribose. The process of transcription is when the start site is recognized, and then the gene begins to unwind as seen here and here. A real-world example of transcription is when you read a book and turn what you read into knowledge. mRNA is single-stranded, has a ribose sugar, and has uracil versus thymine, which bonds with adenine as A to U, or U to A. mRNA reads one side of DNA and makes a complementary strand. If the top part was read A, G, and C, then the complementary strand would make A to U, G to C, and C to G. Translation is the final step in protein synthesis. In simple terms, it is when mRNA is decoded, which makes protein. A real-world example of translation is when you read a book in chronological order so that you can understand the story. The first step in translation is when tRNA binds with the start codon, which signals for the ribosomes to assemble. A codon is a 3-nucleotide sequence, or A, G, and C. tRNA brings amino acids to the ribosome, which forms a polypeptide chain, or a chain of amino acids. This is why tRNA is like a taxi, as it takes the amino acids to the ribosome. The bottom of tRNA is an anticodon, which bonds with the mRNA's codon, which in all makes the protein. An anticodon is 3 nucleotides complemented by tRNA. tRNA has 2 main parts, an anticodon and an amino acid. The final step in translation is when the stop codon is reached, and the ribosomes release the amino acids, creating protein, or U. During protein synthesis, nucleotides such as A, G, and C can be copied down incorrectly. Sometimes this has no effect, but sometimes these mutations can cause diseases, such as the maple syrup urine disease. To understand how the disease is inherited, we must look back 3 generations to Sam's grandparents. On his mom's side, her parents must have had a big R, little r, and a big R, big R. Sam's mom had a 50% chance in getting big R, little r. On the other side, for his dad, the grandparents had to have a big R, little r, and a big R, big R. Sam's dad had a 50% chance, and again, they got a big R, little r. Together, Sam's parents had a big R, little r, big R, little r. So, if we punneth that, the percentage chance to get little r, for the maple syrup urine disease is 25%. And that is how Sam's little brother Ben ended up with the disease.
How does the disease stop amino acids from being processed?
Well, the body lacks special enzymes to break down the amino acids, valine, leucine, and isoleucine.
What is a severe case like?
Well, a severe case can lead to comas and death. Well, seizures, comas, and neurological damage are the outcomes of a serious case. And these serious cases are triggered when a patient is under stress, such as a fever, infection, or if they have not eaten in a long period of time.
Is there any treatment options for those affected?
Well, for those affected, a protein-free diet is established, and then an IV is used to transfer fluids, fats, and sugars to the body. And lastly, dialysis is undergone, which replaces or it cleanses the blood of all the amino acids that have built up.
If a patient, for some reason, were to break the diet, what would be the outcome?
Well, this is a rare case as the family works with an experienced physician and dietitian, but as stated before, seizures, comas, and neurological damage and even death can happen if the patient is to veer away from the diet.
Thank you, Andre. And thank you, our viewers, for watching 7 Minutes.